Recording. Good evening, everyone. This is Scott Anderson with Agri-Best Feeds. Welcome to our webinar here this evening. This evening we're going to be focusing on late summer and weaning strategies. We have a kind of a panelist here that will be able to answer questions. I'll do a presentation and then we'll do Q&A as we get into the middle of it here this evening. So as we start out, oh, that didn't work out great. We should start that one all again. Start at the beginning. All right, well, take two. Go ahead and start here with our webinar here this evening. I'm Scott Anderson. I want to welcome you to our webinar. We're going to be focused on the late summer and weaning strategies. And as we start looking at that here, last month we had a webinar that dealt with summer challenges and opportunities. We'll be looking at a little bit on the drought this week, but you can catch that webinar by going back to our YouTube channel, and you can watch that if you have interest in that. So as we start off this evening, we want to join together with ranchers to enhance their lives and kind of meet the goals that they have as producers. And most ranchers' goals revolve around three things here. First off is animal health and performance, what's best for their herd. Secondly is forage utilization, kind of looking at the grass that they have, standing grass or hay as your crop. And then bottom line, producer profits. How can we make this thing make money and be beneficial and maximize the genetic potential that we have as ranchers. And as we look through that, there's two symbiotic relationships with two herds that we need to really focus on if we're going to maximize that animal health and performance, get the most out of your forages and your bottom line profits. There's the four-legged animals that are out there, and then there's the microflora, the good bacteria that are especially in the rumen, but throughout the digestive system that help digest your forages. So we'll be kind of looking at how our programs meet these needs as we go forward here this evening. Of course, the cows provide the right environment and the feed sources for the microbes. The microbes in turn take those feed sources that the cow can't use by themselves, but it breaks it down into parts and pieces that the cow can utilize, and then they themselves are a excellent protein source when they are spent or pass on. And that's how cattle do such a great job of converting forage into quality meat and milk. Our program is a complete nutrition program that kind of focuses on those two herds. We start out with your forage, so what you bring to the table. Add SweetPro and Redmond to that. Those are kind of our 1-2 punch of product lines. SweetPro being a complete supplement, Redmond being the natural trace mineral salt. And that gives you a complete balanced ration that includes protein and energy that are used by the microbes in the rumen, but also by the cow, and probiotin, our powerful digestive aid of fermented wheat, oats, barley, and flax, and then a full vitamin mineral trace mineral program, including minerals that are chelated and crystalloid minerals. All of these things put together allow you to get about 25% more digestible protein, energy, and other nutrients from your forages. That's improved digestion, and that's what allows us to maximize the genetic potential and use your forages to the best degree possible. As we get into kind of our focus this evening, some of the things that we want to focus on and talk about, we'll be working on the drought. And as we think about drought, of course, forage quality and quantity are the two big things. And we've got a pretty good sized drought throughout most all of at least Western United States. And just as a resource, if you go to this droughtmonitor.unl.edu, this is the most recent, and then you can actually click on this map for whatever region that you're in, and then it will drill down into those areas. But as you can see, all through Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, even up into Montana, starting to get pretty droughty conditions kind of all over. And like say, if you say you're in this region, you just click on that region and it'll pop it down all the way to your state and county sides, and then you can continue to drill down on that. So that's an excellent resource. Once again, that's Drought Monitor at UNL, University of Nebraska-Lincoln. EDU is who puts that together. Of course, we're still dealing with a lot of grasshoppers across our region, and that just adds to the drought, where that quantity of grass is going away because of the grasshoppers eating a lot of it. So as we start to look at that, one of the big things we're wanting to do is we need to find ways to supplement the grass that you have there, and our program does an excellent job with that, with the SweetPro, whether the tubs or SweetPro loose, if you're not needing the protein. But a lot of times by this, when you're dealing with a drought, the extra protein will be necessary. And so we're seeing a lot of guys moving to the tubs at this point, and then the Redmond Natural Trace Mineral can help support, and that program together can actually help stretch your grass. I know a lot of guys are looking at weaning early and pulling the calves off the cows, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that as we get into weaning, help reduce some pressure on the pastures. And probably when we get here in the end, Kevin, if you can remember, let's talk a little bit about the drought situation and the connection. It was back in 2017 that you guys kind of had experiences with SweetPro, and actually stretching the pastures to where they were able to maintain their normal schedules on pasture rotations and things, even through a drought, by maximizing the use of the forage that's there. One of the big things in a drought that you want to be really careful with, one is the supplementing of the forage that's there. So that's kind of filling in the gaps where the grass is lacking, but also you may end up wanting to substitute and bring some other forage in, feeding there. But any way you do that, you want to be careful that your supplements or what you're substituting there isn't actually boosting the intake on that forage. And I guess I got ahead of myself just a little bit. Some of the things as we're looking at with drought, other stressors, insect, flies, can actually cause calves to stop gaining and losing weight, cows not to eat as well and things. So our garlic is an excellent natural economic way to reduce fly populations. And then we also have a stress blend, a natural extract of cinnamon, cloves, and chili peppers that helps keep cattle drinking and actually grazing out through the day. It helps reduce the heat stress, and that can help through some drought situations as well. What I was talking about there is being careful. Molasses and grains actually stimulate appetite, pulls down on the pH, so it stimulates, helps, encourages the cattle to eat more. Concepts, they eat more, they do better. But particularly in a drought situation where your quantity of forage is questionable, or you're concerned about that, you got to be really careful about adding supplements that would stimulate appetite, making them eat more. So here's an ad from one of our competitors that talks about actually increasing digestible feed intake by about 33%. So that's true feed efficiency. Getting the most out of every bite is important all the time, but it's critical during a drought situation. So we'll come back to that in our Q&A and do a little bit more explaining on that, but I want to run through some weaning strategies. And one of the keys now is to start feed the SweetPro and Redmond product through the cows. There's a couple of options. If a guy doesn't want to do it through the cow, that's kind of the direction we'd really recommend. If you're just looking to do a kind of a creep feed program just for the calves, you would feed a softer product, softer SweetPro product like a cattle candy, and use pass-through panels that just the calves can get through and set those out. But we've seen that there's some value in feeding directly through the cow, and you've got benefit for the cow and the calf as well. So on our website, there are feed calculators, and I'll kind of open that website up here for you. So this is the Agri-Best Feeds website. If you're on the home page, there'll be that feed calculator tab, brings you to this page. And we're going to look at this premium SweetPro stage of growth blocks. This is the program that I'm talking about here this evening. Want to call your attention to some of the benefits. Kind of one of the big things we see is an improved average daily gain, up to 0.4 of a pound on your calf. Or if you're running yearlings or stockers, you'll see about that type of gain over just a simple mineral program and grazing. This is pretty important as we start looking at the what all's happening inside and the needs for the cow. So it's meeting the needs for the cow, the vitamin, mineral, trace minerals, salt, protein, energy for not only cow, but that calf on the side. The calf on the side is going to be getting value through the cow's milk, but then they're also going to learn how to lick on that block and start getting supplemental value directly from the block and help get their rumen and digestive system really running at peak efficiency. And this calf in gestation. And I think Todd Daniels, one of our cattle specialists, is on this evening. I'll have him visit maybe a little bit later on kind of the immune side of things and how that gut health is so important when we look at the immune function. And a lot of that happens and starts, the foundationals all the way back at this calf in gestation. So keeping that cow in good condition has value all the way across there. So that's one of the things that we see utilizing the program feeding through the cow is important or very valuable. High rumen bypass protein, that is protein that goes directly to the cow and helps with milk production and also frame and muscle development on that calf, and improve overall herd health. That's kind of one of the goals we were talking about, health and performance earlier on. And SweetPro is an excellent and stands up good in the heat of the summer, so it doesn't get melty and all soupy. No extra equipment or feeders are needed, so high-tech nutrition in a low-tech dispenser, and all on less grass, back to what we were talking about on the drought side of things. So just to run through this calculator, and you can kind of play around with this. We can come back to this and play around if you want to, but these are just some, the DROUGHT numbers are numbers that you can put in and evaluate. This particular example is showing so your current salt and mineral costs, say at 12 cents, you may have to shift that up or down. We're going to replace that. So that's going to be coming off down here where we delete that back off. Your cost of your SweetPro that you're going to be putting out, how much they're going to be consuming per day. And depending if you got cow-calf pairs, we're targeting about a pound, 3/4 pound to a pound and a quarter for the cow, and then figure maybe a quarter to half a pound for the calf. Cost of Redmond, figure about 2 cents a day on the Redmond natural trace mineral costs there. And if you get that improved average daily gain of 4/10, what the cattle market price is, and then how many days. So what are we, if you're say 60 days out of weaning or from weaning here, this would show you that kind of converts that all off, that you're actually by feeding SweetPro and getting the feed efficiencies and that boost in average daily gain, you're picking up another 22 cents per head per day, and or $13 over the 60-day period. So we can talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A if people have questions on that. Then as we, so we feed through the cow now, and then up through weaning. When we wean onto the cattle candy. And some things we notice on that is that a great reduction in stress. The weaning stress is a lot of guys are saying reduced by at least half, and calves are very content, go to the blocks right away. You've got good health that's already developed as they are on the cow, and utilizing the value of the enzymes and yeast, particularly that are coming through in the probiotin, the digestive aid that comes through SweetPro, and also the natural trace mineral salt and all the minerals as they're working together. And then that allows them to continue to gain right through weaning. And so you don't have that plateau or falling off and then bringing them back around. They continue to gain right through weaning, and a lot less sickness. That's probably one of the big things that we see and hear from producers as they are weaning onto the SweetPro program and utilizing the SweetPro program coming into weaning. Another thing that we've seen on the sickness side, especially using the stress blend, so that cinnamon cloves and chili peppers mixed in with the SweetPro. SweetPro itself gets you down the road a long ways on the good gut health, but that natural extract even takes it beyond. So if you have any issues with coccidiosis, those types of things, we'd recommend going ahead and doing the natural extract, the stress blend, along with the SweetPro, and that also helps in boosting performance on those calves as well. I'm going to try and see if I can get this to play. There was a video that was done by Gwen Shepperson, who does our Facebook page. And so it's on our Facebook page. I'll go ahead and click it, and hopefully you can hear it. This is weaning. They just weaned their calves, early weaned. And this is 48 hours after weaning. I think we'll play it.
These calves were calved on SweetPro and range grass all summer. Were weaned just about 48 hours ago. And everybody is quiet. We've got SweetPro in the pen all over. Quiet, eating, happy campers.
So that's a excellent video there. You can check that out on our Facebook. Interesting, just the calves there, how even they are, and it's been quite a journey for them over the last couple of years as they've started a new herd and have built their herd back up through utilizing the SweetPro program. Get the right button here. And then the other things as we want to look at before we get into our Q&A is some other strategies on the weaning and some values, some things to consider. Definitely considering preconditioning, and Dwayne will probably be able to jump in and talk about some of these things as we look at some of the opportunities with that. But definitely, if you're preconditioning, 45 plus days is what they're recommending on that to maximize that. And then there's additional market dollars available for preconditioned calves. A lot of the program calves are getting a pretty good boost there. So any of your NHTC calves or GAP program calves, even some grass-fed calves, depending on what those programs are, you can connect with us. SweetPro, our feeding program with SweetPro and Redmond fits most all of those programs, so long as they allow distillers to be a part of their a part of the program. And we've got documentation that can help you through that process if you need that. Other things that you can consider is market timing. So if you've got grass and are able to go further into the winter, do some backgrounding on grass or even in lot, taking advantage of market timing is maybe anybody's guess. Maybe somebody can help us out on that one and how that works, but it gives you some availability to do that. And then of course retaining ownership as is a possibility on some strategies as you're looking towards weaning calves this fall. So I think that's about what I had here this evening for the presentation side. We've got a great panel of guys. We've got all of our cattle specialist guys on the line here this evening. I'm going to stop sharing this and pull that back up. And so if you got any questions, you can raise your hand and we can get you that way. Or if you want to chat or type your question in the Q&A, you can do that. We'll just kind of open it up for discussion for our rest of our time here this evening. We'll kind of introduce our cattle specialist. Let's see, we've got Dwayne Hould. I don't know if you're able to wave there. Okay, so he's up in Montana and oversees Montana and over into the Dakotas. Todd Daniels, he lives in Montana and oversees Wyoming, and he's got nutrition background, and so we'll talk to him real quick in a bit here on the immune side of things. Give a quick wave there, Todd. There he is. And then Vince Guthrie's down in Nebraska, and he's had some incredible experience with his own herd, and then also as a dealer and our cattle specialist there. Let's see, Kevin Heidel, he's one of the owners of Agri-Best, and Daryl is the owner of Agri-Best over there as well. He's a distribution manager, and Rod Cordy, I see he's on here, horse guy. So any horse questions, he'll be able to answer those. So Kevin, to kind of start off, if you can maybe give a little bit of a quick overview of the drought situation there in eastern Montana and some of the things that you experienced there. I think it was 2017 or 16?
17. So yeah, that was that 2017 was, even in the spring, the grass didn't even really green up. And so had extreme drought. And so we had of course, through that, a lot of guys had to use protein right away. And one of the benefits that we've always said and seen, in good condition stuff is on the hay saving side. And there was a couple ranches that were running on BLM ground, and they had to stay on pretty strict rotations, and they were really afraid they were going to have to shorten those times, and we're actually able to stay on their same rotation through the whole summer, and not graze them down to nothing, and so that was really good. And even, I mean, one thing with the drought and some of the severe areas where we actually did some tests on the grass, and it was 2% protein, so it was really nothing there. It was really tough to kind of keep consumption where it needed to be in places, but we just did the space feeding and was able to go that route. And that's another nice thing about the SweetPro is with no sugars or starches that you can do that. Put a 10-day supply out, and they ran out in 6 days or whatever. They just didn't put it out till that 10th day. So one thing Dwayne and I were just talking the other day, and he was mentioning one of the ranchers he works with, they do fecal samples quite regularly, and just what they were seeing right now with what they're seeing, that looks like the cows are losing like 2 pounds a day, which, that's huge. This time of year, you want to try to maintain. So, Wayne wants to share a little bit about that, what he's been seeing.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a customer the other day, and he's a pretty progressive operator, and he has been taking fecal samples all summer, kind of keeping track of where his cattle are gaining and losing. But anyway, in the last about 10 days, the fecal samples are telling him they're losing 2 pounds a day. So, and these are his 2s and 3s. So they are, like 2 days ago, he put them back on SweetPro, and wanting to head that off, because if cattle start going downhill at this time of the year, it's really tough to get them back. And if you're sliding the wrong way through, the calf, it's hurting the calf in vitro. I mean, they're not getting what they need, plus just the body condition of the cow. You're kind of sliding backwards, and then when you get into fall and winter, it's almost impossible to catch back up. And like I said, what it's doing to that fetus is not good either. So if they can keep that nutrition level up, keep those cattle at least staying where they're at, and not losing weight, then it's going to make calving better and healthier calves, and just everything going into spring a lot better.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. We'll keep kind of going along. If anybody has a question, go ahead and pop your hand up, and we can call on you with everyone here. If I don't see anything, I'll go ahead and keep on going here. So Todd, do you have a second that you could maybe just give us just a 3-minute overview on the immune side of things and the gut and the importance of that at this point, and some of the things that you see with SweetPro coming in and Redmond to help support that?
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially during these stress times, whether it due to the heat and the drought situation, I mean, probably one of the most important things is not getting yourself in a situation where you have some kind of subclinical immune stress there going on. Could lead to, respiratory diseases, things like that, particularly around weaning time, but during these times when we're just short on grass and these animals are stressed, and particularly the last few weeks when the temperature's been pretty ridiculous. So anyway, just trying to maintain that gut health really is the best and first and best way to maintain your immune system. We know from the research that about 70% of the immune function originates along the gut tissue. It's a first line of defense to any kind of disease. So, and it's something that's being studied more and more all the time. They've ramped up the research in this area just because they're finding more and more associated with not only in animals but in humans too, that there's just such a direct effect on what's going into the body and being digested, and what's affecting bacterial populations, and what that can have a direct and immediate effect on immune function. Those bacteria that are there within the gut lining are continually talking to the lymphoid tissue and those immune cells that are surrounding all of that, and basically directing them as to what's good and what's bad and what's a pathogen and what's not. So with the probiotin being in there and the ability to have those prebiotic and probiotic fibers in there to first feed the good bacteria and make sure that they're healthy and promote their populations, but also secondly, remove any pathogenic or bad bacteria that's there to reduce any of that, what is basically a subclinical disease or subclinical infection that may be going on just due to an imbalance of pathogenic bacteria outweighing the good bacteria or the beneficial bacteria that are there. And by ramping that up, you're protecting the immune system and making sure that those immune cells are ready for any kind of stress or pathogens that might come along. And it also plays directly into the digestion of nutrients and opening up the areas in that gut lining where the nutrients are absorbed, and removing any pathogenic bacteria. Those bacteria just they're hiding spots or the direct areas where nutrients need to be absorbed directly. So getting those out of the way and not giving them a chance to adhere to that gut lining also improves the digestion. So it's kind of a double thing and double opportunity there to improve all kinds of parameters, measurable parameters, but whether it's sickness or efficiencies. But really, immune function is one of the first things that can go when you're having a stressed nutritional situation. And you spoke of the Redmond, and having those trace minerals and minerals also have a direct effect on those bacterial populations, because they utilize those minerals for their own use and help the animal metabolize and move those minerals around to the correct tissues, and they use them for themselves as well for their reproduction and enzymes and things like that. So having a good amount and available amounts of minerals also help those bacterial and basically help the microbiota or the microbiome be at its optimal level or optimal performance.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Todd. We'll jump down kind of quick. Have a little bit of feedback there from Vince. If you got a chance maybe to visit a little bit about what you've seen over the last couple of years through this weaning time and drought situation, heat, and kind of, I guess, some of your thoughts into what we're visiting about here this evening, Vince.
Well, I think being proactive on this drought and staying ahead of it's gonna, pay a lot of dividends later, especially because, like Dwayne said, when you lose weight on those cows, the cost to every pound that's lost, it costs a lot to gain that back. So if we can maintain them and being proactive and maybe pulling those calves off and getting them started on a good nutrition program is probably a good way to help those cows to stop losing weight. And the SweetPro out there is going to help. The one thing about weaning the calves, when you got the gut functioning right, even if they do break with sickness, they should respond to vaccines and antibiotics fairly well if their guts are healthy. So I think just having, like Todd says, getting that 70% of the immunity is coming from the gut. So if we get those straightened out and get consumption up on them, that's going to help you down the road for sure on getting those vaccines to work, and getting if you do have a sick one that he responds, because we've had it before where the calves didn't get started right. You think you're saving all this money at the beginning, and then you get one that gets sick and just literally they won't respond to anything because they're just behind the 8 ball on everything. So getting those calves off to a good start when they're born, getting them off to another good start when they're weaned. Those are 2 critical time frames for a calf, and it's really important to do things right at the beginning, get those bugs working, and then they're set up for a good, a good healthy, good health afterwards. So.
Excellent. Well, as you can see, we've got an excellent panel on here this evening, so we'll open it up. Anybody has any questions? You can just raise your hand and I can unmute you there. Any questions for any one of these guys, or just a general question?
One thing I think we just mentioning that we've had some really good response with the SweetPro and the stress blend against coccidiosis in the calves at weaning time. And we've saw some pretty good, Dwayne's had some places had some pretty good results, even with the Redmond and the stress going that way too. So, but I think it's just a good product to use at weaning time to help eliminate some of the, especially the coccidiosis.
So Kev, could you talk a little bit about the receiving pen down there?
Yep. So had a feedlot in Nebraska that they're buying calves out of the ring, and they've used other ionophores or used ionophores to help reduce sickness when they'd bring those calves in. This last fall and winter, they used the cattle candy with the stress blend in it, and they just said they were so impressed with how well the calves, when they brought them in, how they went to feed quicker than they've ever seen. And then too, they just had to treat very few calves that were on where they used the stress blend. On the other, where they used the Rumensin products, they still were treating, they said they ended up treating more calves to those pens than they did the ones where they used the stress blend. So that was pretty good, I thought. So.
Excellent. So we've got, I see on our attendee list, there's a number of dealers we've got, of our dealers and some fellow distributors with a SweetPro around. Any of you guys have any thing that you'd like to share as far as things that have worked and experiences you've had? Just raise your hand and I will unmute you so we can get you on here. Or if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and type your questions or raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Maybe everybody's done such a good job. There's no questions, or maybe everybody's asleep. Who knows?
Well, maybe one other thing we haven't touched yet on is the loose mineral. I think just mention that real quick. We SweetPro's loose mineral. We've been seeing some pretty good things with that. There's been a few things, of course, with any new stuff. There's usually a little bit of challenges, but and one of them was just the dustiness, especially with the stress blend and the garlic in it. But that's been resolved. But feedback so far has just been, man, cattle are doing really good on it. Consumption's where it needs to be. But it's a good option to use even through mixed rations. I think we can use it there, but then in settings where don't need a lot of protein, be able to still have that probiotin, which comes standard in all their loose mineral. And so another just good option to have.
Perfect. Thanks, Kev.
I guess one thing that I would add, our grass here in Nebraska has really been drying up, and you know, I was just looking at our cows this last week, and you know, they're on pasture that's really dry, not really any greenness there, and I was worried about the contentness of the cows. And being on SweetPro, I just observed that they are really content. So that is a very very good thing to see when you're fighting grass that's probably like Kevin said, 2% protein. There's not much out there as far as nutritional value. We're just trying to make the most, kind of get them down the road a little ways, keep them out of our hair, keep them in. Having content cows is a pretty common thing when you have Redmond and SweetPro out there. It seems to really help keep them content during times like this where they're not in ideal grazing conditions.
Yeah, I did have one customer that was not overly happy with us with the SweetPro program, as they were used to driving into the pasture with the pickup, and all the cows would come running from every corner of the field for them to cake them, and 1 pound of SweetPro replaced about 3.5 pounds of cake. So they went on this SweetPro program, and just like Vince was talking about, their cows didn't come running, drive in, and so that contentment, and that's something that probably can't help that, I guess. So that's a good deal. Any feedback, anything you're noticing there, Rod, our horse guy, this time of year, just throwing anything out on that at this point?
Awful smoky out there.
That's
Lots of grasshoppers. I was up there in Helena Wolf Creek area today, and they have just as many grasshoppers up there as we have down here. Everybody's trying to put up hay as fast as they can before the grasshoppers get to it up there. That's about it. I mean, everybody's, they're trying to figure out what to do. I know that Redmond salt's rolling hard and fast. I do know that.
Well, we got about 15 minutes of time left here. If there's any questions, we can hold on. If there's not, or any other comments, we can jump off. We want to make this time as valuable for you as we can. Okay. Give her a couple of seconds here. Just throw your hand up, or all right. Well, so next, so the third Thursday night, yes, September, what is that, the 17th will be our next open webinar. And so keep track of you can follow us on Facebook. There'll be invitations going out there. Also on our website, under the register for the upcoming webinar, that'll be there. I'll get this posted up on YouTube hopefully tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I guess hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend coming up in a couple weekends. So thanks everybody for your participation here this evening, and hope everybody has a great night.